Imagine London in 1558, on the eve of a coronation that would determine the destiny of the British Empire. The young Elizabeth I sought counsel neither from her generals nor her bishops. Instead, she held a clandestine audience with a long-bearded scholar cloaked in voluminous black robes. Unfurling a celestial map dense with intricate orbital paths, he pointed to a singular moment in time, whispering the date that would reshape the world. His name was John Dee. Tonight, by the rhythmic flicker of the hearth and through this narrative meant to be felt rather than memorized, let us step into the true odyssey of his life. He was the Queen's foremost scientific advisor, the shadowy intelligence agent who signed his secret dispatches with the cipher 007, and the alchemist who sought to converse with angels through a crystal sphere. He once possessed the most magnificent private library in Europe, yet in his twilight years, he was forced to barter his precious volumes for mere bread, finally fading away into the frigid moonlight of Mortlake. This is a story of exploring the frontiers, of swaying between reason and madness, and of a profound obsession with universal truth born from the depths of absolute solitude. For its first 30 years, John Dee's life resembled a meticulously calibrated mathematical treatise. Born without nobility, it was his intellect, sharp and luminous as a star, that made him the celebrated prodigy of Cambridge University. While his peers were consumed by the rote memorization of theological dogmas, Dee was already charting nautical maps meant to traverse vast oceans. Within ancient Latin manuscripts, he discovered that numbers were not mere sterile symbols, but the very scaffolding upon which God constructed the universe. He once crafted a mechanical beetle so uncannily lifelike that as it took flight above the stage, the audience recoiled in terror, believing it to be a manifestation of diabolical sorcery. One must understand that in an era where magic and science remained entwined, Dee's wisdom was a perilously double-edged sword. He realized that what men called magic was simply science yet to be understood, the higher order veiled behind the visible world. He haunted corridors at midnight, clutching a mirror of polished obsidian, attempting to capture a specific truth within the refraction of light. This relentless pursuit of Orion the year 1564, John Dee penned his most cryptic work, the Monas Hieroglyphica. Seated within his library amidst 4,000 rare volumes, listening to the rhythmic tides of the Thames, he sought to devise a universal cosmic cipher. No longer content with merely calculating planetary trajectories, he yearned for a direct dialogue with the source of the universe. He even counseled the Queen that the Empire's future lay not in the conquest of soil, but in the pioneering of uncharted seas and unknown dimensions. This visionary lucidity failed to win him friends among the envious courtiers. Instead, they branded him with the epithet of the old wizard. Yet, it was this very wizard who, wielding his mastery of geography, first conceived the grand concept of the British Empire. In his private sanctum, he reviewed surveying data from across the globe, his inner calm resembling the still waters of an ancient well. He realized that no matter how far frontiers expanded, the human soul remained imprisoned within the confines of finite senses. Thus, at the zenith of his influence, Dee made a choice that would baffle posterity and lead him into the abyss. He surrendered to the allure of spirit communication, straining to hear, before the midnight embers, whispers that did not belong to the mortal realm. Won him the Queen's favor, yet it also consigned him forever to the periphery of mundane society. During the decade following his encounter with the scryer Edward Kelly, John Dee established a laboratory of the soul. His quest was not merely for the philosopher's stone, but for the construction of Enochian, a celestial language intended to bridge the gap between finite humanity and the infinite divine. His study at Mortlake was perpetually thick with the bitter scent of tinctures and the aroma of burning charcoal, broken only by the rhythmic scratching of a quill against parchment. There, they transcribed thousands of pages detailing the hierarchies of angels, down to the vibrational frequency of every character. This extreme fervor imbued Dee's later years with a somber, profound sense of shadow. He favored sitting alone by the high tower window at sunset, watching the sailing ships depart on the Thames as if observing a dream destined to dissolve. Some claimed he had descended into madness, yet had you gazed upon his silhouette in those moments, you would have found no insanity, only a near-masochistic loyalty to the truth. He became a pilgrim wandering the borders of light and darkness. He no longer required the Queen's medals. He asked only to stand vigil before the crystalline surface of his mirror, watching for that phantom shore known as universal unity. In his silent orisons, Dee finally attained an alchemist's liberation. Solitary, yet undeniably real in his waning years, John Dee's countenance became as weathered and desiccated as ancient timber due to prolonged poverty and public scorn, yet the logic within his mind remained cool and crystalline. Watching the officials who once feared him now avert their eyes in the street, his own gaze held no anger, only a sovereign pity for the mundane world. He knew the empire was ascending toward the glory he had prophesied, even as he, the man who struck the spark, was being forgotten by the flame. This stoic indifference, born of seeing all yet revealing nothing, was his most profound anchor. In his final journals, He recorded his ultimate realizations regarding truth in prose that was both restrained and divinely touched. He described the essence of knowledge, a thing so brilliant yet so heavy, like a silent chess match played upon the precipice of a vast abyss. Every twilight at Mortlake, he observed the stars which, in his eyes, remained the only loyal constants. It was his final communion with nature. There, he was no longer the most formidable polymath in Europe, nor the heretical conjurer, but simply John Dee, a speck of dust seeking its place within the cosmic rhythm. This transition from supreme intellect to utter desolation allowed his life, before its final wither, to radiate a dignity as resilient and pristine as aged parchment on a snow-swept morning in 1608. Within the dilapidated walls of a once glorious manor, John Dee closed his eyes for the final time. When the word reached Buckingham Palace, there were no grand funerals. Instead, the entire city succumbed to an awestruck silence, a silence characteristic of Dee himself. His departure was profoundly quiet, as if he had merely completed a celestial observation precise to the very second. He had answered the question posed in the prologue. He forfeited a life of pampered luxury to secure an ultimate victory in the exploration of the unknown. And you, now, do you feel it? That sense of tranquility, cool and stable as an obsidian mirror, reaching across 4 centuries? The Queen's empire has long since transformed, and the sails of the Age of Discovery have reached their ports. Only John Dee's solitary quest remains in the midnight of history, like a faint lamp that refuses to be extinguished. This is a power that requires no explanation, a finality belonging to the souls of pioneers. Tonight, may you drift into sleep accompanied by the scent of ink from Dee's manuscripts and the steadiness born of his absolute composure. The world has fallen silent. It is time for you to let go of the day's distractions. Good night.